Ladies and gentlemen, today is a day that we as a community have been waiting on for a very, very long time now. Before this announcement, people were already up in arms about how long it was even taking to resolve something that was so seemingly easy to come to a final decision on. And it turned out much worse than you or I could have ever imagined. You see, 3 months ago, Yiheng Wang broke the 2x2 Rubik's Cube world record with a 0.78 average. But suspicion surrounding this record began when we realized that not only was this such a huge drop from the previous one, but things truly started to get wild when the footage for this average was reviewed, and it was revealed that he was using a technique that has since been labeled as sliding. By moving your hands off the timer like this at the beginning of the solve, it saves around 0.15 seconds on 2x2 times, because you basically begin the solve before the timer itself even starts in the first place. So of course incredibly broken, right? And when people started to look at this average frame by frame and realize that Yiheng did in fact slide on every single solve as evidenced by the video, you can start to see the problem here. It would be almost physically impossible, barring some insane luck, for anyone who didn't slide, or basically cheat, to break Yiheng's world record. Now this meant there was a huge decision to make for all of the other top 2x2 solvers, because if they didn't slide, they were effectively nerfing themselves, but if they did, they were basically cheating and could get called out for it. But the real kicker was the fact that the only way to get caught cheating was if the judge could actually see it happening in real time and called you out for it. This all culminated in what has been seen as probably the greatest protest in cubing history by Hassan Kanani, who is a world-class 2x2 solver. This happened around a week ago. Hassan had a 1.34 average going into this moment, and he decided that he would go all out and slide for an entire average of 5 solves, just like Yiheng did, and it resulted in a 0.94 average, good enough for 4th in the world. Now obviously something was up, because I mean just look at these times, pretty much everyone knew he was sliding immediately, and he even got DNF'd on his 4th solve for this exact reason. So the average was entered as a 1.30 instead of the 0.94, but all of the other solves in the average stayed, including a 0.64 PR single. And especially because sliding is something that can't really be seen easily unless it's analyzed frame by frame, you can see this is obviously a huge problem. Sliding does inherently break regulations of how you're supposed to start the timer as well, but if you don't film your solves and aren't called out for sliding by the judge, it's impossible to ever be accused of it. And even if you were, there was literally nothing that would have been done about it, because the WCA doesn't allow frame-by-frame analysis to be used in a decision like this. Now again, I say was because the WRC or WCA Regulations Committee has finally come out with a statement regarding Yiheng Wang's 0.78 world record. And it has people, frankly, absolutely fuming. Now, the WRC was under some pressure to make this decision because they really only had 2 options to go about this, and each had its own consequences that you'll see here in a minute, some much worse than others, and the options were as follows. Remove Yiheng's world record average and legalize frame-by-frame review, because that's obviously the only way they would be able to accuse him of sliding in the first place, effectively banning the technique as a whole. Or 2, allow Yiheng's world record to stay, setting a precedent that sliding is 100% legal and 2x2 is basically a completely broken event where cheating is legal. The WCA board, because the WRC's original decision on this matter was overturned, went with the curveball of a century, a knockout blow to the community so unexpected that you now of course have people saying the ruling was disgusting and that we need to overthrow the board as a whole. But on September 27th, the WRC made an official statement saying that frame-by-frame analysis is now completely legal to give and take away penalties. The WRC will begin to follow this process immediately and will only apply it to future attempts. This means that, ladies and gentlemen, Yiheng Wang's 0.78 world record average stands and will not be removed from the database. Of course, absolute outrage broke out on the internet. The floodgates have been completely opened, because best put by number 2 in the world, Zain Kanani, you guys can't slide on cam, but someone beat the world record by 0.14 while sliding. And the wildest part to me is that the WRC themselves were actually unanimously against keeping the record and having it stand, but the board completely overturned their decision, so now the current world record was effectively achieved with cheating. Not only that, but this also sets another precedent that if you find a loophole in the regulations and then cheat during an average using said loophole, it's completely legal because your result won't be removed. They might keep it from happening ever again after that point, sure, but the original person to get caught for doing it still benefits here. So there is now a world record that does not follow the regulations of the WCA, and people are obviously very mad because the 2x2 world record average is now almost completely unreachable. Without the 0.78, the world record would be 0.90, which Yiheng probably used sliding in as well, so the community is completely cooked basically, but even the 0.9 is a bar that is very achievable legally. The only reason sliding was ever discussed under any disciplinary context in the first place was because of the incident of Yiheng sliding in the world record. So it's kind of impossible to argue that the original incident itself shouldn't be addressed. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, even brain rot seeped through here. Aiden Granger's saying, "Is this a joke? I think it's Jover. We are so cooked. Put the fries in the bag." Okay, what am I even reading? But the deeper level to this is now that people are also reasonably claiming that this is blatant favoritism by the board towards Yiheng. Not only because they allowed his world record to stand, but because of this point in the statement that says frame-by-frame analysis will not be used to penalize timer stops, which is just a little bit suspicious to say the least considering Yiheng's timer stops and their interesting nature from time to time. I'm almost completely sure that there will be some kind of push to revamp the entire board at this point. I believe 5 members have already left during this decision alone. It's something wild like that where it's obviously shown that this was not a very good ruling and people are not happy about it. But how things will move forward from here will be very interesting to see in the coming days, to say the least. People are trying to overthrow the board and I can't even blame them. Again, don't come at Carter Kukala who made the post. This is entirely on the actual board to address further. It's a pretty terrible situation for Carter to be in, where you do have to put your name under this decision. So remember, kids, you can't slide unless your name is Yiheng Wang. But a 6-year-old's faster than you already know that. But besides that, that's about it. And even though it is legal if you're not on camera, don't slide. Instead, subscribe to me. That was not funny at all. And yeah, besides that, that's about it. See ya.